All right, guys, if you're thinking about moving to Costa Rica, and you're possibly thinking about maybe buying real estate or building something or buying some property, this is the video for you. This is going to be the 101 of real estate, the most frequently asked questions. This is the video for you. We're going to get into it in a minute. We're going to be talking to our good friend, Jean. She knows all the answers. Guys, I'm Michael Allen for Travel Costa Rica Now Real Estate. I'd appreciate a subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you want to see videos as we put them up. And remember, if you live in Costa Rica and you're thinking and you want to maybe sell your property, your business, or your house, get a hold of us and we'll see how we can help you do that. Also, Also, real quick, guys, we have another relocation retreat coming up soon. All that's going to be in the link is in the description of this video. So if Costa Rica is on your map or on your radar, but you're not quite sure if you want to live here or not, there's going to be no blowing smoke. It's the good, the bad, the ugly of living in Costa Rica. By the end of the conference, a 6-7 day event, you will absolutely know if Costa Rica is right for you or it's, honey, we're going to Belize. I would love to see you there. I speak there. But let's get back to real estate. What do you think? Jean, thanks so much. We're going to go over the 101. You know, it's funny. We were doing some of these questions and I was like, you know, these are basic, but these are the questions I had when I first got here. So, and I didn't know any of them.
These are everybody's questions.
All right. So we're going to start out with the easiest first, maybe. So first of all, who can buy real estate in Costa Rica?
So Costa Rica is obviously not for everybody. Most people that don't know the country see a paradise.
No. We're going to get to that question too, but who can buy it? So I don't live here. I'm not a resident.
You don't need residency to buy a house here.
Yes.
You just need money.
Next question. Okay, that's exactly right, guys. You don't need to be a resident to buy property here. And that's a lot of people's first question. Do I have to be a resident? No, you don't. She hit it right on the head. You got some cash? we can sell you shit. But you were answering the next question, which is also a great question. Let's go with who should or shouldn't maybe be even thinking about buying or building anything at this moment. Like who should buy, who shouldn't buy?
Let's talk about who should buy. So there is a few types of people that buy here. Number one, investors. People who want to buy a piece of land and just because it's so touristy here, make income. Right. Rent it out for Airbnb and not have to declare taxes.
Right. Or buy like a turnkey and they're going to get a property manager.
Yes.
So those kind of people.
Airbnb, you know, you buy something, you want to just not work and just manage Airbnb and collect income, a good investment for your money. Because the US dollar is going down. If you put your money here, the value of your dollar goes up because of the land value going up. And the properties pay themselves off with Airbnb.
Who else?
Also people who are just tired of their life in the States or Canada, tired of winter, don't want to be in the winter anymore. They come here, they can live without all these neighbors, the hustle bustle around you. You can actually get a piece of land in a secluded area and live without anybody bothering you.
Well, I would probably push back on that a little with the caveat that I don't kind of who shouldn't. I think you should have been coming here for a while, or you should know what you're getting into. You should, like I was telling you earlier, like I know some people that are literally have been looking for land or property for 10 years. They go to other places. They go to the Central Valley. They go to the beach. Maybe the beach is too hot, but they've been doing their homework and research, and they're thinking, hey, I'm going to close out my life in Costa Rica. I'm going to get my residency. Costa Rica is where I want to end up. And I want to own my own property. Mm-hmm. But what my point is homework and research.
Definitely.
So I don't think, I would say like, even though the person's sick of wherever they're from and they come here on like a vacation, I don't know if that they should be going, honey, let's freaking buy a $500,000 property in Costa Rica. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, I totally get your point, but I'm just kind of like, to me, they should have some inkling of what Costa Rica is like to actually live here.
You will definitely get culture shocked. A lot of people come here thinking, you know, it's going to be rainbows and butterflies, and they leave 2 years later because of all the all the shock of the culture here. It's not for everybody.
I typically say my kind of general answer is I usually say, like, you shouldn't even think about buying property if you haven't done the homework prior, like doing the 10 years. 2 years, you should come down here, experience Costa Rica, see if it's right for you, rent, look around other places, all that before you even consider. I would say I give it a 2-year mark. Obviously, some people can do that earlier. Some people may take a little longer, but I kind of use 2 years.
Sometimes you just know where you want to be if you know yourself really well, but I really recommend you at least pin down the location, because there's the beaches, there's the Caribbean, there's very touristy areas. There's the big city like San Jose, and then there's, the hot springs. You need to know where you want to buy before you look.
Location. So, and we're going to get to that a little bit too. What about...
And also, I wanted to talk about another type of person, basically the hybrid. I call it the hybrid people, which is like someone who spends 6 months in Canada or the United States or Europe and then come here for another 6 months to escape winter, to just get away. So they do 6 months here, 6 months there. They're like the... What are
snowbirds.
Those called? Yeah, the snowbirds.
That's a vacation to me. Yeah. Those are vacations. They have money. They can do what they want, and they would say, if they were to be talking to their friends, they'd go, "I have a place in Costa Rica." They wouldn't say, "I live in Costa Rica." They'd say, "I have a place in Costa Rica that I go to."
People who hate winter.
But you're right, kind of not necessarily an investment, but they just have it for their own selves, or just want another place to come.
For sure.
So do you have to have a real estate agent to buy property here? What would you advise on that whole, do I need to get a real estate agent, or can I do this myself?
That is a very this is a very complicated question. So if you like to do things on your own, if you want to do things without an agent, you can do it. Yes, there are a lot of risks involved. First of all, you should know someone here, or know someone that speaks Spanish and knows Costa Rica well, because if not,
if you don't speak Spanish, you may not want to go up to the Tico houses for sale and knock on the door and say, "What's up?"
I highly don't recommend it. First of all, you're going to get gringoed for sure. If a house
gringo priced, explain quickly. Do the definition of gringo pricing. Again, a lot of people, this is their first video about Costa Rica. Okay. What's gringo pricing?
For example, you're a gringo. You're an expat. You're basically labeled as a gringo.
I feel like that's racist. No, I'm just kidding.
We're all gringos. People who are not from here, people who speak Spanish, they're kind of in between. But then those people that don't speak Spanish, they're all in the category of gringo.
Yeah, they charge us more because we're gringos and we don't know shit.
Pretty much. Okay, so in a nutshell, if I'm selling a piece of cake for $10 and you go, "Hey, how much is this piece of cake?" Because you're a gringo, I'll be like, "It's 35.
Right. People think that's funny, but I've literally seen them, in real time, add $50,000 to a house. I'm not kidding.
More than that.
I know. I was trying to be cool.
50,000 is
so the gringo pricing is real, but I think the answer to that is you could do something without a real estate agent, but you would have to be on your game. You would have to know Costa Rica. Probably should be speaking Spanish. You probably should know something about just real estate in general. Maybe you're a real estate agent. You have a kind of an inkling of how things work, but you better know how Costa Rica works too. So we would say, I think we'd call that, yes, it could happen, but it's an exception.
Highly not recommended.
Yes, very, very an exception to the rule.
Things can go south very fast. Like I'm a realtor, and my biggest advice is don't trust anyone here. I can't put it in a better way, but just don't trust anyone. And I read every document.
Don't trust anybody.
No, it's true. It's true.
Although we're pretty trustworthy. So maybe start with us. Okay.
No, for real.
Well, that's the next question. Okay. How important is finding the right real estate lawyer or real estate agent? How important is it?
It is the most important thing. It is the most important thing.
Explain what we know that they may not know about if you pick the wrong one, because it's not just like you might have picked a real estate agent or real estate lawyer that's not on their game. It could be a total rip off, not on, you know, like totally ripping you off type of thing.
Totally. And you know what, guys? First of all, I would recommend word of mouth, but word of mouth from people that you trust. You know, because people will recommend all kinds of realtors, and you need someone who's got your back. And to know who's got your back, like the only advice I can give is, you know, word of mouth, and also really trust your intuition. If someone's like, oh, this is a great realtor, and you meet the realtor and you're like, something about him is weird, I don't really trust them, then follow that. Because if you got the wrong realtor, things can really go south.
And if you don't speak Spanish, I'm sorry, you're gonna want somebody that speaks English and Spanish. You can't. If you don't know Spanish, you're not going to just get a realtor that speaks Spanish. Things are going to get lost in translation. You might be saying yes to things you meant to say no, or vice versa. And so
they could sell you the wrong house. They could sell you something that has a lot of problems and tell you it's great. You know, it's all of those things. It depends on how you work with the realtor, what they're saying to you, if you trust what they're saying to you, if they're responsive, because sometimes they're not really responsive, and that can be a problem.
Yeah, and
a lot of things go wrong in the process of closing a house, and you want someone who's really got your back.
I would say real estate lawyers could even be worse, because they could own your house. You know, I mean, the real estate lawyer might even be more important. And should you get a real estate lawyer, or can a real estate agent?
You need one.
Yeah.
You absolutely need a lawyer, because only registered lawyers in Costa Rica are allowed to check in the system for all the information about the house, whether it has defects, whether it has a mortgage, whether the title is clean. The realtors don't have the ability to do that. So you absolutely need a local lawyer, registered Costa Rican lawyer, to check in the system. And a good lawyer will tell you, hey, don't buy this house, especially if the title is not clean.
Well, the due diligence isn't right. Like, there's liens on the property. Yes. There's it's not even plumbed for water. You know, or maybe the lines aren't right. They haven't worked that stuff out. Those can be total fiascos. And again, if you haven't lived here, you don't know how south this stuff can go and how long it can be tied up, like in a court system. So
you can really get screwed over if you don't do the due diligence. And also, the other thing is, I've seen thousands of houses in Costa Rica. 99% of the houses are not perfect. They have problems.
Well, yeah, I don't think the perfect house necessarily exists. And that should be your rule. There are exceptions. We've seen some really nice houses.
Maybe 2 or 3
perfect, 9.9s.
Yeah,
9.9s.
9.9s. But yeah, you need to do your due diligence.
Yeah,
most people, I would recommend hire an inspector, because you may not know a lot about construction. They need to check the septic tank, the electric wires, the water, the tubing, it's just the whole thing. You need to be on top of it.
Yeah, this is a big purchase. You want to definitely do it right. You do not want to try to cut corners here, even when people tell you, "Oh, we'll help you cut corners here." Don't do it.
It's worth it. It's worth it hiring the right people.
So, what do you think? I got strong opinions on the next subject. Actually, should I buy a new house, or should I a used house, or we can even build a house in there if we want.
That's a big question.
It is a big question, but there's a general, I think, answer personally.
Okay, for me, I want to start with the best deal for your money. What I think is the best deal for your money is to buy an old house on a large piece of land and fix it up. That, if you want to save money, that is the best way out, because a lot of people built their houses, let's say 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when things were still cheap. So, and a lot of them are locals that don't know the value of their house. For example, it could be worth $300,000, and they'll just be like, I just want $100,000. Those are the houses you want to buy if you want to save money. And then you spend a couple more grand and fix it up, and you can triple the price.
We've been filming those houses, by the way. You're going to want to check those out.
So if you have a low budget, that's what you should go for. But then now I really recommend Turnkey, especially for Fortuna. Turnkey is basically a house that's nearly perfect, 95%, 99% perfect. Because what happens is, when you buy that house, immediately you can start renting it out and generating income.
Well, if you're going that route, but even I think Turnkey is even good if you're going to live in it yourself, because now you don't. You're saving on if it, plus, you know, it comes with everything, and you don't have to bring all your stuff down here, and you can just, okay, I don't like that couch and get a new sofa here or whatever. But generally, everything's outfitted and you're good to go.
Yeah.
So, and then again, with building a house versus buying a used house or new house, building, you better know what the hell you're getting into. And again, that's where the contacts are very important. If you don't get the right contractor, things can go really bad, and you don't even know it until you're halfway through and you can't stop.
You're going to spend way more than your budget. You know, people here are going to pull all kinds of weird stuff on you.
Right. So building, you really need to be, the only times I've really seen that successful here is when the person building was a contractor and knew what was going on. And they're living there.
I would recommend.
They're living on property.
You have to supervise the people that are building. Yes. You know, they will cut corners. They will do the wrong things. You need to be supervising them. You need to know what you're doing. You need to be a construction worker.
Yes.
To be able to build a house from scratch, even doing large renovations.
And having it done, you got to be familiar, or you're going to skimp on, you know, the tubes are going to be 2 inches instead of 4.
They'll use cheap materials,
yes.
And they'll cut corners in every way.
So I think we would probably advise, if it's a build versus buy thing, buy. However that means. Turnkey, new, used, buy 95% of the time is going to beat out build.
For
right?
Sure, for sure. If there's if there's a steal out there, get that. But then another thing I want to mention is that the property location is very important. The land is very important, because you can change a house, but you can't change the land. You can't change the location of the land, but if you want to change the house, you can always change it. So there's a little gray area there.
So we touched on for a second about location. Maybe let's talk a little bit. Why is location so kind of important? You really, I'm just going to start with Costa Rica's small, but there's different, you know, mini climates, beach versus inland, Central Valley versus, you know, I mean, the location, it really is true here.
Location is everything. And I think that's a really, really long, you know, that's a very complicated subject that maybe we should.
Yeah, that's going to be another video. That is another video, but let's just do a couple things. Like, so you find your mountain spot and you want to be up in the mountain. Well, you got to consider, is it ready for internet? Does it have water? Does it have these things? You found this beautiful view, but it may not be, you know, what about a road?
Is the road paved? How long is it from town? Do you want to live in permaculture, secluded, where nobody bothers you, and you generate your own off-grid farm? Or do you need to go grocery shopping?
Yeah, you need things close. Maybe the probably one of the best examples is medical. I would say, especially because a lot of people coming here, not all, but a lot of them tend to be more my age. They're retiring maybe, and they want to be around medical services, and that's mostly Central Valley. Like, for instance, here in La Fortuna, although they are building a semi-hospital, I'm an hour away. If something seriously happens to me, I'm in trouble. But if you live in the Central Valley, you got 6, 7 A1 quality hospitals that you're going to need to be around. And if you're on the beach, I can already tell you, anywhere, any beach in Costa Rica, you're at least an hour away from a hospital, at least.
We're an hour away from the hospital as well.
Yes.
Although they are building a hospital here, because this area is exploding.
I would call it a glorified clinic. We're going to have to fight about that.
We don't know until it's done.
And it's supposed to be done soon, right?
Yes. I mean, I think their goal was November.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but they did say they were going to pave all the roads, and they did. In the last 3 months, all the roads around here have been paved.
Is there a place you can check? I know you could go to Facebook and like talk to people. Word of mouth, I think, is very, very important, you said. But is there any kind of app that you can check realtors in Costa Rica? Because, you know, like the United States, you have Yelp and all these things that say what's good. But is there anything like that here? I don't think there is. I don't
think there is.
If there is, it would probably be sketchy. But
I mean, this is the second third world country. I mean, it's really, you have to be functioning on your own. You have to be navigating on your own. You need to be smart. You need to be intuitive, you know, and
all our viewers are very smart and very intuitive.
If not, listen to the people you trust, get recommendations from people you trust. If you can find a local that you trust, that is ideal, because they've been living here a long time.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
You know,
We're just going to touch on this because, again, this is another video. Actually, I've done this video, but we got to briefly touch on it. So, can you finance a house in Costa Rica?
yes, you can, but I highly don't recommend it.
It doesn't happen often either. Cash is king.
Cash is king, but there are times where people need financing because they just don't have that much cash, or their cash is in their house and they'd have to sell their house. In cases like these, a lot of times I can convince the owner to finance the house. The catch with that is that you're not going to get the title of the house until it's fully paid.
Yeah, which I don't know.
That's a little risky.
And I've talked to you guys, probably maybe know Glenn. I've talked to him a few times. He does lending, equity loans, but that's not for everybody.
No.
But it's for some people. It works great for some people, but again, not for everybody. But typically here in Costa Rica, it's cash. It's cash.
It's way better cash unless you can get a loan in your own home country. With lenders, just to touch on why it's a bad idea. Number one, the interest rate here is very high. It's not like 2%. It's like 15 on average.
My guy Glenn is between 15 and 18.
Yeah, it's very high, and it's like that everywhere. Even at the bank, it's like 8%. So it's a very high interest rate. You're paying a lot of money.
Well, I don't think you can necessarily go to a bank and get financing, can you?
No, you can't. It's really hard.
Yeah,
if you don't have residency here, the only way you could get bank financing is if the owner has a mortgage with the bank and they transfer it over.
Let's take all this back. Bring your cash, or you're not buying.
Yeah.
How about that one?
And the other thing very important to mention is that there's a lien on your house when you go for a lender. So if you if you miss 2 payments,
I want your house.
and they take your house, that's a really good deal for the lender. That's why they do it. So.
Although, wait a minute, I got to push back. My lender doesn't do that because he doesn't want your house. He wants it to work out, but you're right.
That's tragic.
Yeah, it's tragic. Okay, so I bought a house, or I want this house. I want this house. How long typically, I know this is Costa Rica, there's so many variables, but how long typically does it take to close a house?
If, say, you're in a rush to do it as fast as possible, typically it takes about a month. From the day that you say, "Hey, I want this house,"
do you stand by that for you? A month? That's
3 weeks to a month.
I would have said 2 months just to give yourself some grace.
The fastest way you can do it is around a month. But some people are like, "I want 90 days. I want 120 days," and that's fine. That's like 3 to 4 months. But
the one we're closing right now has been 4.5.
I mean, people do whatever they want, but if you want to rush it, if you're like, "I love this house. I'm sure about it." You do the purchase agreement, you get your money verified. It takes about 3 weeks if you want to rush it.
Yeah. What would be, so if things are bogged down, would it usually be an escrow? Getting the money down here, because they can get,
getting money down here is very tricky.
Yes, they ask for a million different papers, and it's
they do. They want to, in a nutshell, they want to check that your money was not laundered.
Right.
If you're laundering money, they're gonna find out.
Costa Rica is never gonna live money laundering down. They just aren't. It's just like money laundering is a thing in Costa Rica, and that's it. And you can't get.
A lot of people try to launder money.
We've lost bank accounts because they think you're money laundering. It's a thing.
Anyway, you need to use an escrow. There are 2 types of escrows. One is a third-party escrow, let's say Trustco, or some of the other escrow agencies. It's important, by the way, to pick a good escrow because they could be very.
Well, wait a minute. Let's help them out here. A real estate agent here, and if you're buying in this area, she's got the escrow people.
I do.
So
we
don't have to worry about that.
I have the lawyers and the escrow people. The other escrow would be the bank. The bank can do escrow. However, the difference is that the private escrow, when you sign the house, they'll send the money to everybody. Like they'll send the owner the money, the realtor, the lawyer. They'll all send the different amount already calculated. With the bank, the lawyer is the one in charge, and basically you send your money to the bank, and you need to have everything verified, or else they freeze your fund. Then you're just,
you got the wrong date on a paper. They freeze your funds.
They freeze your funds. But then what happens if everything goes smooth is that once you sign the paper, the bank sends the money straight to the vendor, the seller.
Right.
And the seller on the contract says, this is how much you owe the agent. This is how much you owe the lawyer. The seller pays everybody when they get the money. I don't recommend using the bank. It's cheaper. First of all, you need to be able to speak Spanish because they're not going to have a translator there. And second of all, you got to really trust that seller because, you know, they're going to get all the funds. And I mean, you're protected by the document, but if you want to do things safely, I would use a third-party escrow.
All right, guys, these videos are supposed to generate questions from you. This is just groundwork, a framework if you're thinking about buying property or land or houses in Costa Rica. So if you want to reach out and ask Jean anything, info@travelcostaricanow.com. I will shoot you over to her and she'll answer all your stuff. I think the takeaway is basically two things. One is there is pretty much no perfect house here. You have to come with that in your mind. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I just couldn't have, it's blue, that's ridiculous, I can't buy it. You will always be able to find a reason not to buy the house. You can, and it's always, with you gringos, a lot of times it's kind of nitpicky little things. So if you're coming down here, you think everything's gonna be perfect, you would be wrong.
Most houses here don't have the right shower. A lot of them don't have hot shower, and they have suicide showers. A lot of them don't have ovens. Most of them don't have mosquito nets. And these are all cheap things that you can install yourself, but just don't come with the expectations that all this luxurious stuff are here.
Or there might be a little short gravel road you need to get to your property. There's always going to be something. And if you're coming with that framework that everything needs to be the way you want it, don't come here because it's not going to work and you're going to be frustrated. And that comes to my second little piece of advice. When you buy real estate here, or start a business, or buy land or property or house, it's never that smooth. There's going to be bumps. There's going to be delays. There's going to be stuff. It just doesn't go that way here. It doesn't matter. The best laid plans, everyone's on board. Trust me, there's going to be bumps and you need to be ready for those kind of bumps and kind of chill with it. Chill.
Have vision.
It will work out. Have patience.
Have patience and have a vision.
Right. So just know those couple things.
You can renovate.
And then go from there. Again, if you have any questions, get a hold of me. I'll get you to Jean. Anyway, guys, I'm Michael Allen, Travel Costa Rica Now Real Estate. I think things are going to pop up. I can't remember if they do on this channel or not, but if you're going to live or travel anywhere, you should always do your homework and research. And if those videos do pop up, you should check them out. Say bye, Jean.
Bye.
Laters.